Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. If you could do me a favor and just let me know. We're going to obviously start on with the content when we get a few people who are joining us today. And obviously today is going to be a super exciting session. And I'm going to be talking to you about how to shift your 3D reality by fixing energetic patterns. And it's going to be really cool for you because I'm going to include like a couple of case studies for you as well. So it's going to be really good. And you're going to get some concrete examples of how this stuff kind of works. So like I say, we're just going to hold on for a few moments until we get some people joining, which is really good. But good morning this morning from a very rainy Western Australia. So I'm looking out the window this morning, and like I say, it's tamping down with rain in Western Australia this morning. You think that Australia's got permanently good weather. But it's not. It's not the case. So this morning we've got some showers and some heavy rain, which is really good. So I'm just going to check loud and clear. That's fantastic. So really good. Welcome to everybody who's joining and jumping on. Just to let you know that we're live here on Facebook. We're also live on both the page and also on my wall, also on the YouTube channel Architects of Destiny, and also on TikTok. So we're literally across the board. Welcome to everybody who's jumping in. I didn't want to start cracking with the content until people started joining. So welcome to everybody around the world who's joining this. Just quickly before we go, people who've joined on Facebook and stuff, can you just let me know you can all hear me okay on here? Today is going to be it's going to be amazing, this session for you, all right? So you're really going to get a lot of value in today's session, and I'm really excited to kind of share that with you. So people on Facebook who are joining, just let me know in the comments if you can, whether you can hear me and see me okay. I know Ria's watching this, my terrestrial support team. She says I'm loud and clear here in the same house, but just let me know if you're fantastic. Thank you very much, Jen. That's great. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, then let's get going. You're going to really enjoy today's session. All right, I'm excited putting the kind of slides and stuff together for you. So today's session, right, is going to be all about how to shift your 3D reality by fixing energetic patterns, right? And today I'm going to give you two case studies, actual case studies, and I'm going to analyze them with you, and we're going to break those down, and you're going to see the shifts that kind of happen when you begin working with energy. Because it's one thing talking to you about this stuff, and it's one thing explaining how this stuff works, but I also want you to see the results. I want you to have examples of results of actual clients, actual people I've worked with, so you can see how energetics affects people's lives in quite a tangible way, okay? So when we go through with energetics, okay, you're going to witness instant shifts and change in your life, like instant, okay? So, you know, we've got quantum, okay, and energy, it's instant. So quantum literally happens like that. So we do the correct energetic work, okay? Reality then begins to shift almost immediately. And that's the power in this stuff. That's the power of knowing the correct energetic work, which you will after today. You can have two concrete examples that you can refer to. And I'm going to talk to you in detail about these, okay? So this is going to be a really valuable lesson for you guys. You know, there's nothing better than actual real life examples, and that's what I'm going to break down for you here today and to talk to you about, okay? So what we've got to do together within a session, we've got to play the role of an energetic detective, okay? For want of a better word to describe it to you, we need to dig into exactly what needs to be done. And what this is just about finding the direction and writing an energetic prescription through a chat. Because if you go, I'll give you an example, you go to the doctor and you go and you're suffering with allergies, okay, and the doctor kind of prescribes you some bandages for your allergies, probably the bandages are not going to really help you. You probably need some antihistamine or something like that. You need the correct prescription, right? So, and that comes down to the interview. When you have a chat with the doctor, that's kind of how it works. So we need to make sure that we're doing the right prescription. So when it comes to energetics, there's probably, goodness me, at least 5 different avenues that we can approach depending on what the issue is. Some of it involves the Akashic Records. Some of it involves past life karma, ancestral karma. Some of it is working with a client's personal energy field. Some of it is releasing blocks and releasing distortions from a personal energetic field. It is purely subjective and based on the individual. No 2 people are the same. No 2 souls' experiences are identical. We're all on our own journeys, right? We're all writing our own story. All of our stories are different. So, you know, you can't have a cookie cutter approach to this kind of work because it just doesn't work. It may work for 2 people, but it won't work for 20. Do you know what I mean? So we need to kind of discover exactly what's going on, and we get the correct energetic prescription. And when you get the correct prescription, problems are gone, they're sorted. So again, I'm going to break down 2 concrete examples for you in detail here today, just to show you, okay? So me personally, some of you know me, some of you don't. For those who do, just humor me. But for those who don't, when I work with people one-to-one, I am very task orientated. I come to this with a masculine energy. I like to get things done. That's just the energy about me, okay? It comes from a good place, but I like to be as efficient as possible and to do as much as I'm able to do. So I look to clear as much as I possibly can in this one session. So as much as the field will allow me to clear, I like to clear. Some people, I've worked with people before, my old mentor, long time ago, who was working on my field, and kind of, I developed my systems off the back of what I went through with my mentor. I developed my own way of doing it. I'm much more sort of, like I say, task orientated in a safe way. Okay, everything's done safely and gently. But my old mentor, very steady, very gradual, and probably, no exaggeration, the stuff that I could clear with a client in 3 sessions, it probably took me 6 months with my mentor back then. Lovely lady, massive respect to her, love her to bits, but at the same time, we've just got a different approach. I come with a masculine energy. The field, okay, your field, our field, etc., it has a consciousness and it has an intelligence, okay? And the field will allow you to clear so much in one go. So think of your field like an onion, and at the center is light, okay? We've got loads and loads and loads and loads of layers. Now, we can't strip them all in one go because it's not possible. The field won't allow that to happen. You need to integrate between each session. That's how it works. But the field may give us 2 or 3 things, maybe sometimes even 4 things that we can clear in a session. And that's what I like to do. You know, I will clear what the field allows me to clear. I just partner with the field, okay? Each session typically, and when I work with a client, each session typically lasts between 60 and 90 minutes, right? Although there is no time limit. So I don't put a time limit on it. All I can say from experience is typically it lasts between 60 and 90 minutes. I've had some really deep sessions where I've kind of, once I've started, I'm kind of committed to what I want to clear and what I want to get done. And some sessions I've had to take 2.5 hours, you know, and it's really taken it out of me. It's really kind of drained me. But I do what I can do. That particular session just needed my attention. I needed to be there. But a session is a session, so I'm not like looking at the clock. Probably some, you know, there's some people you could work with out there who would have a little stopwatch or a clock, and they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, we're coming to the end. We'll need to pick this up next week." I'm not like that, so I don't put a time limit on it. A session is a session, but typically 60 to 90 minutes is kind of average. The way I look at it, if you perform an energetic surgery, okay, you don't leave the patient midway through the operation. That's just the way I look at it. So if you're getting heart surgery, the equivalent of what we do energetically, right? You know, you wouldn't get the heart surgeon performing a triple bypass on somebody's heart, okay? I work on the field, but the surgeons work on the heart. You wouldn't just kind of look at his clock and say, okay, it's 6 o'clock now. Just hang in there, mate. I'll be back tomorrow. No, you just get the job done, don't you? And that's it in much the same way. I work in exactly the same way. So today, okay, 2 case studies which are going to be analysed in this session in detail for you. I need to turn that off because it's getting quite warm here. 2 case studies I'm going to analyse for you in this live session, which is going to be mega interesting for you, and you're going to get a lot of value from this. Like I said, I was getting excited putting these banners together for you, right? So, case study 1 I want to talk to you about, okay? Ancestral patterns and energetic imprints. Sounds a bit flowery, don't it? But when I drill down and I break this down for you, you're going to see exactly what I mean. You're going to spot the pattern, you're going to see the outcome, and you're going to see the benefit that this kind of work does in people's lives. It's magical. And, you know, for me to be able to work with energy in this way, work with people individually on a one-on-one basis, is very special to me. I love it. And I'm absolutely in my divine aligned flow expressing myself like this. It's a blessing to be able to work with people. I love it. So, you know, I'm thrilled. So number 1, ancestral patterns and energetic imprints. So this particular client, no details given. This is, you know, I'm talking generically here. I can tell you it's not male, it's not female, it's not whatever, but these are actual case studies. I'm not going to give you any more than that, okay? But I'm going to give you some details from it so you can see the patterns. So the grandparents of the clients, okay, they emigrated, okay, going back. So you think clients a certain age, you've got parents going way back. Perhaps the grandparents are not alive anymore, but they emigrated from a financially sort of poorer country, came across to the place that they were living, different part of the world, okay? Grandparents struggled financially, right? And also developed a fear of authority. Perhaps that was to do with what they left in their original country. Perhaps they were running from the authorities. You know, it's just one of those things. So they came across, really struggled financially. There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of trauma associated with those experiences that the ancestors went through, right? So your grandparents emigrated, they struggled financially, fear of authority, right? Comes down a generation now, right? So the client's parents now, I'm talking about grandparents struggled financially, came across fear of authority, came down to the parents, specifically the father. Father would repeat the mantra to the client growing up, okay? Never express yourself to authority. Authority is to be feared. So there was a pattern emerging here, okay, based upon trauma that the grandparents had been through. So again, the father would repeat the mantra, okay, to the client when they were small. Never express yourself to authority. Authority is to be feared. You protect yourself, okay? So what then happened? So the client, the problem, one of the problems they had, okay, because there was many that we fixed, but one of the problems that we played energetically active, we went into fixed. This wasn't karmic, by the way. This is just ancestral patterns and imprints. So how this manifests itself in the client's life, okay? So in the presence of perceived authority, so this could be a boss, it could be a client of the company, anything that the subconscious would look at and think this person's in authority over me, okay? So in the presence of any perceived authority, the client then started to experience an inner sense of shrinking, feelings of really feeling inadequate, so inadequacy, always choking up, just couldn't express themselves. It was really kind of holding them back. So when we go through, you can kind of, do you see the pattern? When we're looking at this ancestral stuff going back, this is family line stuff that we're dealing with now. Not talking, it's not Akashic Records. There are instances, like I say, quite often I'm up in the Akashic Records and there's a karmic thing and we've got to do different stuff. But this example I'm giving you is ancestral family line stuff and how it can negatively impact. Okay, so let's just go back. These ancestral patterns came, grandparents struggled, then, you know, father would repeat the mantra, never express yourself to authority. Authority is to be feared. He's just playing this pattern. What happens? The client then automatically plugs in, and in the presence of perceived authority, so boss or client or whoever, would just shrink inside. And this was automatic, right? So this isn't anything that this conscious logical mind thinks about. This is just something that our subconscious has kind of put together and creates this automatic reaction. So in feelings of inadequacy, choking up, can't express themselves. So it's kind of holding them back. It's a big thing, right, in their lives. And again, we've seen the pattern going back through generations, okay? So I'm going to explain the process to you now, okay, and I'm going to explain the results. And so what we do to kind of fix this once we've discovered what it is, okay, and what the results are, and what the results have been for this client. So again, a big part of these sessions, not time limited, but a big part of the sessions is being this energetic detective. So we've got to dig in and get to the root of what's causing this, okay? It's really, once we uncover, when I have a session with somebody, somebody's field, energy field, it has a consciousness and an intelligence, and it knows the session's taking place. If it doesn't want, it's not ready to let go, and the session just won't take place. There will be internet problems. I've had it where even though the Zoom link I've emailed through to somebody, they join on that link, but for some reason we end up in different rooms, even though we're using the same link. I've had it where the clients had a power cut. I've had it where we've had issues connecting technically. So if the field isn't ready to let it go, you've got to kind of just come to one of these sessions when you've sort of, you're really ready to let this go, and therefore the field is ready to let this go. So, like I say, this has taken place. I'm going to explain the process now to you and the results. Okay, so number one, what do we need to do in this? So number one, most importantly, we need to honor and pay tribute to the ancestors. So the client's field's open at this stage. When we have this conversation, yeah, we're having a conversation, and the client's field, I say this to everybody, right? So the client's field is like a vessel of water with some sediment at the bottom. And when we talk, we're just rocking it like this. And then all of the stuff which comes up to be cleared comes up to be cleared. And that's just how it is. It's just literally rocking the field slightly. So number one, how do we fix this? We have to pay tribute to and honor the ancestors, because our ancestors went through their own journeys. They've gone through their own pain, okay? So, you know, you think our lives a bit complicated at the moment, right? Not going into that side of things, but you know what I'm saying without saying it. There's a lot going on at the moment, but, you know, we go back through where the ancestors, some of our ancestors went through war, like physical war, you know, there was kind of, they were starving, there was proper poverty, you know? So it's not a case of just brushing this to one side and say, oh yeah, that's our ancestors, but this is me now. So, you know, we take the selfishness out of it. We have to look back and actually honor what they went through. This was very, very difficult for many of them. So it's about honoring their experiences and honoring what they've been through. And it's important that we do that, because we need the field to allow us, need the ancestors to allow us to separate in the field. I'm going to come to that, okay? And that's an important step. So number one, we must always genuinely honor and even send out the frequency of compassion, love, and care. Genuinely send that back to them. So, you know, if your grandparents are dead, and this is something they've passed over, right? And they've come to the next incarnation, wherever that is. Okay, how would you react emotionally to your grandparents being in front of you and actually speaking to them about what they went through? You'd really offer empathy, wouldn't you? You'd offer this emotional connection, and you'd say, do you know what? I absolutely send you love, I send you light, and I honor everything that you went through. And that's what we're doing in this instant, okay? So number one is super, super important. We have to honor and pay tribute to what they went through. And obviously not just the grandparents, but, you know, in this case, we're talking about the parents as well. The father in this case was just super worried. He'd been passed on this energetic imprint by his parents, which were the client's grandparents. And, you know, it came from a place of wanting to be safe, wanting to protect the client, which was the kid, okay? So, you know, the message that was just drummed into the client when they were a child is never express yourself to authority. Authority is to be feared. That's the thing, because the reason that message was passed on, it came from a good place. They wanted to protect the kid because, you know, the parents had a fear of authority, which came from the grandparents. So it doesn't come, we need to honor everything. So, you know, we then come to the parents, we honor and pay tribute to everything they went through. So we're honoring our ancestors. Within indigenous and First Nation cultures around the world, native sort of indigenous kind of cultures, very common to look up to and to respect our ancestors. Whereas in westernized culture and sort of, you know, we're in 2021 now, it's all about, it's become about self and it's become about right now. And, you know, sort of the elders, old people are shipped off into old people's homes and things like this. And it's all about sort of now it's all instant, it's all me. That's kind of this society, that how it's become. But, you know, when you look back at these ancient civilizations, it comes to revered their ancestors. So in this moment, we look back, we honor and we pay tribute to our ancestors, or in this case, the client's ancestors and what they've been through. Okay, so this is important, step number one. Number two, okay, so what we then do, okay, we release consciously, we release the pain and the trauma that has been plugged into the client's ancestral pain body. So there's a energetic connection going backwards. When I consciously open up and I see with my consciousness a client I'm working with face to face, I see their energetic line going backwards, like a big frequency bar going backwards beyond the client. So you've got the client, and there's behind the client, you've got the parents, and behind, and so on, right? Now, what we would do, okay, across the top of this, there's an ancestral and a family pain body that sits across this, and everything our ancestors have been through feeds into this, and it sits there. Now, it's important, in order to gain separation, which is what we're looking for, energetic separation from this pattern, not that you're not going to have them as your family, because you do, but we're separating from this pattern, right? You'll see what I mean in a second. We need to release the pain and trauma from the ancestral pain body around the context of what we're clearing or separating from. So we acknowledge it, we honor them. We also consciously release the pain that has been accumulated in this ancestral pain body, right? This is important. Then what we do, step number three, there's a few steps, right? So step number three, okay, we separate the client from the imprint and the patterns in the field. So what we do, okay, I will lead a client. So the client needs to do this themselves because it's their field. I can't do it for them, but I can lead them in the process, okay? So I will typically start to repeat certain sentences. The client then repeats after me. So we repeat word for word. And what we then do, we separate and the client goes for their own. Now, okay, so we need to then ensure what then happens. We need to ensure that there's separation from this pattern and this imprint energetically within the field. So if we have followed due process, and if we have, if we've really felt empathy for the ancestors and we've really paid tribute to what they went through, when I separate, or when I lead a client to separate themselves in their own field and go for their own, away from this pattern, typically there's an instant separation. And I say to a client, I consciously look at their field going backwards, and I'm looking for this separation. I'm looking for the field to go plop. And I see a ball of energy being birthed, and the ball of energy is the client, right? Away from this ancestral frequency bar going backwards. I'm looking for this separation, and I'm looking to see when this happens. And think of it like if you've got a tennis ball in your hand, right? And you're inside the swimming pool, you pull your hand down underneath the surface of the water, and you just let that tennis ball go. Tennis ball floats to the surface, and on the surface of the water, it goes plop, and it just starts bobbing there. And it's almost like the surface of the swimming pool has birthed this tennis ball, right? So think of this tennis ball like that ball of energy that I see within a field looking backwards. And I'm looking for this this energy ball to be birthed separately. If we haven't followed due process, and if we haven't, say, honored the ancestors enough, or we haven't really done it in a heartfelt way, the field can be a bit sticky and it doesn't like to let it go. So once we've done the first session, I need to consciously watch this and watch for this separation. If it's still a bit sticky, we revisit step one and we do this over again, but we pay more frequency into it. It depends what the ancestors have been through. It depends how much pain, how much trauma they've been through. Because again, everyone's different, right? Everyone's ancestors have been through different stuff. Everyone takes it differently, you know, as you go through it. So as long as we've honored them enough, and as long as, like I say, it's been done properly with care, and with love and with empathy, which is how we approach all of this, and it's all gentle, you know, there's nothing that's being done which is abrupt. There should be a separation. If it's a bit sticky, we revisit it. Typically what happens, we just hold space with it, I'll observe it, and it goes plop, and there's a birth. And I can see the clients like a ball of energy which separates from that ancestral line. And then I just sit with it for a minute, and I'm talking to the client through this whole process. I'm not doing this just in my mind. I'm communicating as I'm doing this. So, you know, they say males aren't good at multitasking. I've become pretty good at multitasking because I can read into energy, I can move whilst having a conversation in 3D. It's remarkable. So I'm looking for this separation. The separation then occurs, which is that separation from this imprint, right? Which is around this, within the context of this fear of authority, which is the example that we're talking about here, this concrete, real life example with a client. There's been a birth. What I then, okay, we sit with it probably for a minute, and I'll just consciously observe it, and I'll just make sure that that separation's happy, and that the field isn't then trying to drag that separation back in, if that makes sense. I need to make sure that they're both sitting there, the pattern and the client is sitting there separately. So I'll sit there and I'll just make sure that everything is as it should be and everything's comfortable. And 9.99999 times out of 10, absolutely fine. If it starts to get dragged back in, we go through the process again, and then typically there's a full separation. All depends on the person. So this is the first stage. We get that separation, right? So this is where it gets mega interesting. So we've got the separation now within the field from this pattern, right? Number 4, with consent. Brackets, super, super important. If you're working with anybody, right, everything you do is with consent. Everything you do is with consent. No exceptions. No exceptions, okay? Never impose yourself energetically on anybody without consent or permission. And that involves viewing people remotely, doing stuff remotely on people. If you're of the light and of the highest vibration, okay, stick to this internal code of conduct and never, ever, ever work on anybody or do anything energetically with anybody without explicit consent, and ask them in that moment. So, you never assume anything. You never take, it's implied consent. So the client has booked a session with me, so therefore everything's okay. I never assume anything. So even though the client's booked a session, comes in and we're holding this thing one-to-one and it's about clearing this, you would think it's easy to assume, oh yeah, the client's fine with this. But no, I never assume. So even before I access somebody's energy field, in the moment, I just say, can you give me conscious permission to come in and do this? It's just an internal code of ethics, which I always follow and I never break. So with consent, super important, I'll then access the client's personal energetic field, okay? And I will locate and I will remove distorted frequency from their field. Now, what is distorted frequency? Let me tell you. So this energetic pattern, pardon me, or imprint, creates a distortion within somebody's personal energetic field. Those of you who've heard me talk about energetic fields, it's like, think of it like an egg, just sits there around you like frequency. It expands when you're high vibrational. When you're low vibrational, with emotions, it contracts. It's fluid, right? Depending on your emotional state. But it's yours. It's your personal energy field. There it will be distortion or a distortion in somebody's energy field based upon what they've been through with these patterns, these ancestral patterns. So why is this important? Because the subconscious, the little monkey on the shoulder, yeah, you've heard that phrase, we've got our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, which sits there constantly. The subconscious mind feeds us perceptions, how we perceive the world. It feeds us our views on things, how we perceive certain situations, our opinions, our emotions around this. Most of this stuff is automatic and it comes from our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is connected to your personal energy field and will play off this distorted frequency within your field. So the distortion in this case is that the client should fear authority, shouldn't express them. Don't express yourself when it comes to authority. Just fear authority, just keep it all back, passed on by the ancestors, right? So there's that distortion. Now, I can separate somebody from that in the field, which is great. But, you know, if you want to do a full job and we want the transformation in people's lives, we need to reprogram this perception, right? Which is this distortion that we're talking about. So what we will then do, okay, I will then locate and I will remove this distortion consciously. And there's a certain method that I utilize and I do this, okay? I will remove this distortion from somebody's field and I will neutralize it. What that then does, okay, is I need to then come back down and I need to inspect the client's field. And what happens when we remove a distortion, when we remove anything, we create a void within the field. Now, we need to rewire this void, which is created within the person's energy field. We need to rewire that, because if we don't, the subconscious is going to fill it up with the same crap, which doesn't serve the client. So I'll remove the distortion. So what will happen, unless we rewire this perception, what happens is there's a void sitting in the field. And, so what will happen is there'll be changes within a client's life temporarily. It'll be like a stick in plaster. So they'll feel better. The subconscious will then start filling up the void with this old programming. So all the old perceptions then start to come back. All the old fears, all the old lack of expression all starts to come back. So if we want to really make sure this is a permanent job and a permanent shift in somebody's life, we need to rewire that perception. And again, I lead a client through this process. And then what we do is basically we affirm a new belief system. The new belief system is new frequency and programming, which we're installing in that void area where we remove that distortion. I hope this is making sense for you, right? So what then happens? Okay, depends on the client's, it depends on the client's circumstances. Sometimes it warrants Sirian protective frequency. Sometimes it doesn't. Each session is completely subjective. There is no cookie cutter approach where it's like, okay, this is my approach, this is what I do, boom, 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 boom. And it's like a conveyor belt of doing the same stuff. It can't work like that. You're working with people's energy fields, situations, you're working with trauma, pain, etc. So every single session is subjective. If a client's situation calls for it, I will then bring in Sirian frequency. We've cleaned up the house. I'll then want to protect the client's energy field. So I'll bring in protective frequency. Sometimes it needs it, sometimes it doesn't. It's just purely subjective. So this is the work we do beforehand. So what are the results, right? So I've talked you through the process of separating from ancestral patterns and imprints energetically. What happens, okay? So the client then, okay, from that point onwards, encounters perceived authority, or what her subconscious perceives as authority. Could be a boss, could be client, could be government, it doesn't matter. Anybody in perceived authority, right? They no longer shrink or feel inadequate, which was the problem they came to me with, right? So there's no feelings of inadequacy whatsoever. Why would they be, right? Because we've rewired this and we've separated from the field. The pattern doesn't need to carry on. Now has complete confidence to express themselves fully. No problem in expression. Completely confident and can hold themselves in any environment. So all of these problems which were stifling the client, right, now aren't there. So it's literally can see themselves as an equal, can see themselves, actually perceive their value, confidently express themselves, don't shrink and feel away. What do you think that leads to? It leads to more opportunities and income. Boom, boom. You know, this is what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're talking about. Fix the energetic problems, the rest of everything begins to fall in line. So, you know, it's the outcome specifically of the energetic work is that the client then encounters perceived authority. I'll repeat it again. They encounter perceived authority, no longer shrinks or feels inadequate. Happy days. And why would you? You know, you've got no reason to feel inadequate. You know, if you know the value that you're bringing, then, you know, we're all equals. We're all human beings, right? Then has complete confidence to express what they truly think, feel, provide value, whatever it is, within the workplace, with a client, whatever. and can confidently hold themselves in any environment. How amazing is that? What does it lead to? Obviously, more opportunities and income. Boom, boom. So this is how it goes, okay? So, you know, one thing you need to mention, this is example one, right? We've got another example coming up, but example one, fixing these imprints and patterns, okay, it is the best energetic inheritance you can give to your kids. Say it again. Fixing these imprints and patterns is the best, capitals on the banner, for those on TikTok, it's the best energetic inheritance you can give to your kids. Your kid's a descendant of your family line, right? If you don't clear up these issues, and by the way, they're not obligatory, you don't have to. We live in a world of free will, right? We don't have to do anything. We kind of want to grow, we want to develop, right? That's just a want. It's not an absolute. If you just chose to sit in a room and just ignore this for the rest of your life, that's your choice, that's fine. But just understand how these ancestral genetic patterns work. So if you don't sort this stuff out, your kids, okay, fall under the same energetic patterns. So in this example that we're talking about here, about perceived authorities and ancestors and stuff, what do you think is going to happen if you don't sort it out? So the kids are going to grow up with this imprint where authority is bad, I'm scared of this, can't express themselves, and it's going to be holding them back. And it happens unconsciously. This is not something you consciously think about, but your subconscious and energy field is plugged into this family line. It's plugged into that trauma and plugged into that pattern and imprint. So if you fix this, you're paying it forward. Do you remember, like, energy and imprints are like water. They run downhill. It all flows one way. It flows downhill. These trauma and imprints. So if you don't separate, you don't, move yourself from this, your kids are going to be under this. And that's how it works. So by you fix yourself and you sort this out for yourself, you're paying it forward for your kids, because your kids are not going to have to fall under these patterns. So I hope that makes sense to you. So have you got any questions before I get on to example number 2? So let's have a look at that. Yeah, so kids may not be even aware, but still running these programs. Jean says, I want to clear it. Love this, thank you. Success is 80% in it, gone. What is Sirian Protective Shield, Ingrid? Good question, my love. Sirian Protective Shielding is, Sirians are a race of light beings that I connect to. I've got guides, which are Sirian, good Sirians, positive polarity Sirians from Sirius A, Sirius B. Each race of light beings has their own frequency, and it's great for different things. So Sirian frequency is great at energetic shielding. They are wise, they are ancient, they are protective. And as such, their frequency is very, very protective. And I've utilized and partnered with Sirian frequency to fix a plethora of issues within clients' lives. So sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. It's all subjective, and it depends on the client, because the client, their situations, everybody is unique. We all think we're the same, right? But our situations are all unique. We're all living our own unique experience. So we can't have this cookie cutter approach. So sometimes Sirian frequency is good. Sometimes it's not needed, and if it's not needed, I won't bring it in. But sometimes a client needs protecting, and it's like it shields you and cloaks you within the field, if you want to know what that is. So yeah, it's 100%. Just go back through any questions before I move on to example number 2. You're going to love example number 2, because this is going to get you thinking about energy in a way that you've never thought about it before, which is really, really cool. Okay, so no questions as yet. If you have, save them for the end. Hi, Belinda. How are you doing, darling? My banners, so I'm moving through the banners, and my chat thing are on different things. So I've got to toggle. Again, I'm multitasking, But I'm super, super happy to be able to deliver this content for you and just give you this value, because, hopefully it just sparks up a thought in your mind, and you start to think about energy in a different way, and you start to realize that when you work with energy, you can literally transform your life, your perception, your income, your relationships, your health, relationships with your kids. It is limitless. And it's about creating and carving out a life that we truly deserve here on Earth in this incarnation. Why wouldn't we want that, So this is what it's all about. So anyway, I'm going to jump in and we're going to do example number 2 for you. Okay, so example number 2. Sorry, we've done example number 1. So example number 2 connecting to the correct collective consciousness of a country. Super examples, very different, similar in some ways, but different in others. And I wanted to give you this as an example because you probably never thought of this. And certainly you wouldn't have thought of this and then thought about how it impacts somebody's life. And I'm going to give you super examples about this. And perhaps at the end of example number 2, don't forget, these are real life case studies. These are real life case studies of people I've worked with. I've done hundreds and hundreds of these sessions, right? And I'm giving, like I say, I'm giving you 2, I've got loads and loads of interesting examples of this stuff, but I wanted to give you 2 super interesting examples today. Okay, so collective consciousness of a country. Now, yes, a country has a collective consciousness. Depending on that country, the collective consciousness is going to be very different. The collective consciousness of a country is born and is created through the perceptions and the experiences of the people living within that country. And not all countries are created equal. When we think about joy, freedom, abundance, and all this kind of stuff, very different around the world, right? And it have been, I mean, it's changing all the time at the moment, isn't it? But, you know, we're talking here about this example. So the collective consciousness of a country, and if you can break it down actually beyond that. So, you know, within certain countries, there can be different collective consciousness and energy bodies of different cities, for instance, depending on how they're being run, depending on what people's lives are like in there. You can go down and down and down and down, but generally there's an energy body and a collective consciousness of a country. Okay, so this is the example of client, example number 2 for you. So parents, okay, had emigrated from Soviet communism in Eastern Europe to the United States of America. 2 very, very different, you know, start to allow this new perception to come in and start to see these things now, and you'll just go, oh my God, just, yeah, and it'll all start to make sense to you, right? But, and it's like anything, you know, we aren't taught this stuff in high school. We aren't taught this stuff in university. Maybe in the future, when we move into the new earth and 5th dimensional consciousness, there'll be consciousness schools. I truly hope that. But the education system isn't going to teach you this stuff, and you only know what you know, okay? So, you know, I love discovering new things because I'm like, oh my goodness, that's how it works. Okay, so I'm explaining it to you. So parents emigrated from Soviet communism to the United States of America, right? That was a big move. Obviously came for a better future financially, and came from hardship and wanted to make a better life. I mean, who doesn't want that? You want the best for your family, you want the best for your kids and all that kind of stuff, right? So parents had emigrated from Soviet communism to the States. The client, we automatically plug in to the collective consciousness of our ancestors. We automatically plug into it because of our family line. That's how it works. So the client that I'm working with in this case had automatically plugged in to the collective consciousness of communist Eastern Europe. Automatically, and don't forget, this is energetic, so it happens automatically. This isn't something we choose. You don't get a questionnaire when you're 10 years old, do you? And it says, okay, you know, just which collective consciousness would you like to plug into? We're going to plug into that one today. It doesn't happen. This is energetics. It just happens automatically, unless we do the work and unless we separate from this consciously. So the client was automatically plugged into the collective consciousness of communist Eastern Europe. What do you think that was like? Scarcity, poverty mindset, never being enough, hunger, ladies' tights and vinegar being on the shelves in the shops and nothing else, going to seeing a queue forming outside a shop and joining it because they had some stuff in the shops finally, so perhaps you'd queue up and there would be a left shoe. No exaggeration, this is how it was. Perhaps there'd be a left shoe, and so you took the left shoe because next week they may have the right shoe in. You think this is how it was for people. It was horrendously difficult. What do you think the collective consciousness of Eastern Europe at that time under Soviet communism, what do you think that was? People were just impoverished. They couldn't feed themselves. Yet tractor production was up 10% year on year. You know, and there was workers' statues. Yeah, it's amazing, but people couldn't feed themselves. That's why Poland had that revolution. People were hungry. They literally, these were hard-working people. They couldn't feed themselves. So this is where it comes from, okay? This is what the client was automatically plugged into. Scarcity, poverty, and poverty mindset. This is the energy body, okay, that she was plugged into. Or they were plugged into, sorry. So how did this manifest itself in the client's life? So the client was self-employed in the United States of America, land of the free, right? Land of opportunity, land of opulence, developed country, people doing very, very well for themselves. Yes, I'm not saying there's not poverty in America. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is generally it is the land of the free, you know, you've got the Constitution. If you want to run a business and work hard, you can make money. You can build a good life for yourself. That's why people tend to flock there. That's why people migrate to these more developed countries where they feel they can have a better chance. Different collective consciousness. So, in the United States of America, the client, okay, self-employed, as a result of this poverty mindset and consciousness body they were plugged into, there was a constant need to be the cheapest on the market. Automatic. I need to be the cheapest. Okay. How many people here can identify with this? Constantly wanting to be the cheapest, constantly discounting. You know, it's like, oh, I need 20% off, 50% off. Everything's on sale. Trying to be the cheapest. It's downwards, right? You know, you're not creating anything for yourself. It's downwards. It's not serving you. Constant discounting. Almost embarrassed to charge. Always wanting to overcompensate to clients, offering extras and freebies. And you can see on the banner here, put RTTB. That is a race to the bottom. That mindset, that plugged into that kind of collective consciousness is not going to serve you and serve your family. It's not going to pay the bills. If you're constantly giving stuff away and, you know, somebody's asking you how much you charge for, you say, oh, well, yeah. And then you say it a bit less because you're a bit embarrassed. But I tell you what, I'll give you an extra one. You're always trying to overcompensate. Where does that come from? You're plugging into the wrong collective consciousness. And I'm giving you the example of Soviet communism. Go back through your family line. Where did your ancestors come from? Which collective consciousness are you plugged into? And how are you expressing yourself within the marketplace? Do you identify with what I'm talking about here? Just totally embarrassed to charge. Why? If you know your value and you know what you bring, you should be comfortable in charging. Obviously, it's got to be fair. It's got to be fair, and there's a fair value exchange, etc. But this is how it works, okay? So, this was really the client I was working with, really suffering. You know, business revenue just trickling along, just enough to pay the bills, worrying about rent. You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, I've got this coming up and I've got this car payment, but if I could get 2 more clients, I'm just scratching at the bottom. RTTB, a race to the bottom. This is no good for anybody, okay? So this is how it is. This is how it manifests itself. And this is the problem the client came to me with. And this is what we discovered and what we fixed, right? So what did we do to fix this? We disconnected the client, okay, from the collective consciousness of Eastern Europe under Soviet communism, right? Very, very poor, right? No opportunity, poverty, couldn't feed themselves and all this stuff. And we pay tribute, we honor that, right? Not as in, you know, yes, I honor the fact that you were poor. No, but I'm just giving you empathy and love for what you went through. How would you feel in that situation if you were struggling? You know, it's like really hard, these people's lives, you know? So we disconnected a client from the consciousness of Eastern Europe, Soviet communism. We then introduced the client, okay, and plugged them into the consciousness of the United States. Massive difference, massive shift, okay? So just to repeat, for those on TikTok, okay, disconnected the client from the collective consciousness of Eastern Europe, Soviet communism. We introduced and plugged them into the collective consciousness of the States. What do you think the result of this was? So, Soviet communism, can't even say it, okay, equals poverty, right? Poverty, lack, scarcity. The USA, affluent, developed nation. You can see the difference, right? There's a big difference in the collective consciousness of a country. So what then happens? How did this manifest itself in a client's life? So the client now doesn't have these feelings that they had before around their business. The client now sees their value, absolutely can stand behind their pricing, is not embarrassed to charge. And why would you? Okay, you know, you wouldn't go to the grocery store, you wouldn't go to Macy's or to Walmart, fill up your cart full of stuff, and then go, oh yeah, by the way, check out person, you know, I should have this free. No, you pay. You go to get gasoline from the service station, or you can get diesel or petrol. You're going to pay for that. This is just the economy. This is how it works, ladies and gents, okay? So, you know, this person is now not embarrassed to charge, okay? And why would they be? You know, absolutely should be doing that. Does not feel the need to be the cheapest or to discount or to overcompensate. What does that equate to? That equals all of that together, increased revenue. And what that is, RTTT, R and 3 T's. That is a race to the top. There's a big difference. Do you see the difference in what I'm talking about here? One is a race to the bottom. Skint, can't pay this, worrying about clients. Oh, cash flows all over the place. Why is it like that? Well, it's like that because of your belief system. Your belief system exists because of what you plugged into. Plug into the correct collective consciousness, the whole belief system changes. Belief system changes, actions change, all of a sudden revenue goes up. And it's just, this is how simple it can be. But like I say to you, you only know what you know. You're not taught this stuff in school. There's no consciousness schools mainstream, okay? In the future, I really, truly hope that there would be. If anybody's watching this, go and set them up. I send you love and I send you light, right? But ultimately, we only know what we know. We're not taught this stuff. So this is what I'm here. I'm here to bring you this knowledge and I'm here to bring you this education. So, you know, like I say, I repeat, the client now sees their value, stands behind their pricing, isn't embarrassed to charge. Why would they be? As long as the service is great, why would you be embarrassed to charge? It's normal. It's an economy, yeah? Doesn't feel the need to be the cheapest or to discount down or to overcompensate, equals increased revenue. These are actual concrete results in people's lives. I've given you true real life examples that I've worked with hundreds of people. These are two concrete real life examples. Now, what are they? These outcomes are serving a client's higher self, and it's in line with creating a life that they truly deserve, an abundant, joyful, happy life here on earth, you know? So, you know, just to give you a heads up, those are two concrete examples, okay? My one-to-one sessions book up like way in advance. I've opened up some additional slots, okay? If you want to jump on and fancy a one-to-one session, you can do. I've put the bit.ly link across on the banner. For those on TikTok and for those watching on here, it is bit.ly/1-to-1. That's the number 1, the number 2, and the number 1. Aeron, A-E-R-O-N. bit.ly/1-to-1 Aeron. As I mentioned at the start of, let me just put this in the chat for you, okay? Oh, okay, Ria's already done that, okay? The link is there if you want it, okay? I'll take some questions in a second from TikTok and from you guys and gentlemen and ladies on here. But like I say, it's you can book me for a session. I have to put up boundaries. These are so popular. I could be doing this 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. No sweat. There's that many people want to do them. I've had people come back for the 5th and 6th session because it's such a profound transformation in their life. But I need to stick up boundaries. So I need to manage my spiritual battery, my spiritual energy levels, so that everybody I work with gets me at 100%. Because in the spirit of fairness, I'm here to serve people and I want everybody to get the most out of every session. As said, the session is the session. I'm not clock watching. Typically, the session will last between 60 and 90 minutes. I've had sessions that have gone longer. It totally depends on what the field allows me to clear. I am task-orientated. I will clear what the field allows me to clear in one session. And then typically what happens afterwards, honestly, energetically, the next day, some of this stuff energetically is so intense, the following day, you feel like you've got jet lag. That is perfectly normal. Listen to your body, have a drink of water. Sleep if you need to sleep, rest if you need to rest, allow a period of integration, okay, and just start to witness these transformations in your life. You know, it's an absolute blessing. So I'm going to go and I'll take some questions if anybody's got any, okay. So has anybody on this live watching here now, or anybody on TikTok? Have you got any questions for me? I'll be more than happy to. Yeah, well, it's this was a different example. So Ria has put in here in the chat. She says, "Me coming from this background." So the example I gave you wasn't Ria. So I've done unplugged from the collective consciousness of a country and plugged into the correct collective consciousness where the client lives. I've done this on more than one occasion. So this is quite a common thing that people are, perhaps you've identified with it. But one of the things I did do was I unplugged Ria. So she was one of the examples of this, but I've done this with many, many people. No problem at all. Let's have a look. Ingrid, we are in Western Australia. Where do you live? We're in Western Australia. So all of the sessions, I work with people all around the world. So I have clients literally from Canada, both coasts of America and through the middle, Texas. I have sort of Venezuela, Mexico, South America, all through Europe, so from UK, all the way across to Israel, Cyprus, people all across Australia, New Zealand, people in Asia. I've had people from Norway, Scandinavia, literally you name it. So it's like literally all over. So I like to do these sessions via Zoom. The beauty with consciousness and the beauty with energy work is it doesn't have to be face-to-face. I can do this over a Zoom link, no problem, connect into the client's consciousness and work on their energy field with consent, because I'm only of the highest vibration, I'm only of the light. And I do this always with consent, and it's always gently, but it's always profound for people. So have you got any questions about the, any questions about the examples that I've given you there? Let's have a look at this now. Let's have a look on TikTok. See what more of God. Is this like shadow work? Great question there on TikTok. So it's yes, it's you can, yes, it is. You can talk to this like it's shadow work. So shadow work is basically what you feel gives you in layers to get rid of, and to well, not get rid of, but you deal with and you heal, right? So it's like an accelerated form of shadow work on one hand. And on the other hand, okay, it's getting rid of blockages energetically in your life and actually creating the life that you want here on Earth. So yes, you are doing a great thing for your soul. You're doing a great thing for your consciousness. In some cases, we deal with karma. We go through the Akashic Records. Great thing for your soul, but we also do a great thing for you in this physical incarnation here on Earth, because my goal is that everybody gets to live a life of abundance and joy and gets to live the life that they truly deserve here on Earth. And if I can educate some people along the way in order how to do that, I'm more than happy, and I'm fulfilling my soul's purpose. So it's twofold to answer your question. It's shadow work. So yes, you're doing all this work and you're stripping these densities and layers, but it's also about transforming your three-dimensional physical reality to create more income, more joy, better relationships, better health, all this kind of thing. It's all linked. We're all in this kind of energetic soup, this frequency soup that we're all in, right? So we've got a question come in from Sarah. I hope I pronounced that okay. I have a friend starting a consciousness school. Wow, consciousness school in Mexico. Since the country's still struggling with poverty and other issues, could they get plugged into the States without living there? Quick question for you. Are they from the States? Are they from the United States? I need a bit more context about that. So if they are from the States, okay, just to preempt your answer, if they're from the States, then yes, that's fine. Okay, it's not really energetically correct. I'll give you an example, okay? Let's say they're from the state. Okay, so where, can I just ask, are you happy to share where they're from? Where would they be from in the world? So if, because what I would say is, I'll give you an example. If they were from America, setting up a school in Mexico, right? Set up a school in Mexico, and you know, they could connect to the collective consciousness of the States, okay? But you know, it would be right if they connect to the collective consciousness of Australia if they've got no connections there. You know, I like to do things which are kind of energetically correct and the right thing to do. Technically, yes, it would be possible. Is it kind of the right thing to do? I'm not sure. Okay, you'd have to kind of take each situation as it comes. I'll give you an example. So Canada and the States. Okay, yeah, I understand that, Sarah. I know you. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So your friends are from the States teaching Mexican natives. They're from the States then, yes. So absolutely, that's the energetically correct. They're from the States, but just moved over to kind of help the natives, right? So absolutely, plug into the collective consciousness of the States. I hope that they are. But again, you know, everybody's situation is different. People are from different parts of the world. People historically were quite, you know, they used to migrate and move around the place a lot. So everybody's different. But yes, absolutely, in that circumstance, that's the right thing to do. Because obviously plugging into Mexico, which is economically not quite as strong as the States, is not going to serve the collective consciousness, not going to serve you know, your friends, is it? So just stay plugged into the States, or if they haven't plugged into the States, consciously connect to the United States and plug into that. Very cool. Yes, it is. I love it, honestly, and I love teaching people about this stuff. So is it like shadow work? Let's go back through. Can you Good question there. So somebody on TikTok, and my eyes aren't that great because the writing's really small, has just said, can you do my tarot reading? Interesting story for you. Over 20 years, okay, I've been working with consciousness. I started out, okay, I'm showing my age now, I'm 41, right? But when I was 20, so 21 years ago, you're going back to the year 2000, okay? So I'm giving my age, I was born in 1980, but back to the year 2000. Pardon me, I was taught by my then mentor, who was a spiritualist medium, how to open up, how to communicate with spirit, okay, and also how to read tarot cards. So I have the ability to read tarot cards. That's never left me since I was 20. My spiritual experiences and skill set has kind of moved on from reading tarot cards, but as a bit of fun, if you were a friend or we were in the same house, yes, I could read you tarot cards, no problem. It's a different vibrational plane of the quantum field when you open up your consciousness. But I've kind of gone beyond over 21 years reading tarot cards. Although I'm not, you know, reading tarot cards is amazing, by the way. Like, you know, there's some amazing tarot readers, you get some great insights, but I'm capable of way more than that now. So, but yes, if we were in a party or whatever, or social situation, I could read tarot cards if I wanted to. In fact, I taught Ria how to read tarot cards. So she's got tarot cards, and you know, she practices reading on me and stuff. But you know, I can teach people to do many different things. But we're going way beyond this now. We're talking about opening up consciousness in the quantum, accessing Akashic Records, and all of this amazing stuff to transform your life here on Earth. So let's have a look. Have we got here? Okay. Let's go through. It sounds, great question. It sounds similar to rewiring the subconscious mind. Absolutely. So first of all, we separate from the pattern. Yeah, remember me speaking about this? I separate somebody in the field. I'm looking for that separation. But then we remove the distortion. Yeah, we remove the distortion from somebody's field. I do that consciously, and we reprogram the void. What is reprogramming the void? Break it down. It's rewiring somebody's perceptions around that situation. Call it reprogramming the void, call it reprogramming somebody's perceptions, which is what the subconscious plugs into. So yes, you're absolutely correct. That's a part of the process. If we don't rewire the subconscious will fill up that void with the same frequency and distortion that we've removed. So it kind of defeats the object. Why would you stick a sticking plaster over something that needs stitches? You do stitches and do a proper job and it heals. Whereas if you stick the sticking plaster on it, it's not, you know, you knock it and you've got your cut again. It goes back to its original state. So yeah, so thank you so much. Any other questions before I thank you for your time? And I'm going to move on. So energy, Ria says energy work goes beyond the subconscious. No, absolutely goes beyond the subconscious. So we're dealing with somebody's personal energy field. We're dealing with ancestral line. In many cases, we're dealing with a client's Akashic Records. For those of you who know, I've run Akashic experiences before. I've taught people to access their Akashic Records. I've trained people and coached people how to do this. Akashic Records are in the 12th frequency band. Frequency band is a dimension. I won't go into that here, but I access this with my consciousness. I tune it in. Access the Akashic Records, identify the karma, go up to the karmic field, neutralize the karma consciously, come down, and then again rewire the field, release the pain and trauma from the pain body, etc. Other times, we're doing different things. Energetic work is the umbrella, but there's about, goodness me, countless different things. We just need to find the right prescription, and this is what comes down to being an energetic detective. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for everybody who's joined me here today. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Again, just to reiterate, if you want to book one of these one-to-one sessions, the bar is across the bottom of the screen, bit.ly/one-to-one Aeron. If you want to transform your life, if you want to work and rewire your energetic field, if you want to sort out all your ancestral stuff, I can go back and do past lives, I can access your records, and really start to see deep, deep shifts instantly in this reality, in this third-dimensional reality. Jump across to bit.ly/one-to-one Aeron. There are some limited slots available, which I've just made available. We travelled back from Broome, so we were up for some sunshine in Broome, 2,222 kilometres away, so 2222, synchronicities everywhere. Travelled back, now we're back home, I've got some more time, I've got an office again, a bit more comfortable and not really, really hot. I'm happy to open up some slots. I've opened up some additional slots. If you want to jump on, grab 1 or 2 next week, and then it goes into, you can check my availability on my calendar. And then we connect via Zoom at one of the appropriate times. So if you want to jump on there and go for the one-to-one appointment session, go ahead and do that. And it's been great chatting to you. So I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much for being with me today. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever you are in the world. So if it's your night time, have a peaceful sleep, have a great day tomorrow. If you are just waking up watching this, have a wonderful day ahead. Everybody in Australia that's watching this, have a great day. Love to all of you, love, light and blessings, sending you unconditional love and light from Western Australia here. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me, and take care.